In today's video, I want to show you a practical example how you can buy assets without having fiat money or, for example, stablecoins left to buy the dip. We saw a massive liquidation event in the last 24 to 48 hours, not only in Bitcoin, no, also in the altcoins. Some even dipped 10, 20, 30%. The mid and low caps were bleeding even more. And what I like to do in those times, I like to dollar cost average into the market, into assets I wanted to buy once we have such kind of liquidation events, such kind of market crash, when we see red candles all over the market and the market sentiment turns, everyone is worried about his assets. And those are the best times to build new positions in altcoins you had on your watch list. And that's exactly what we want to do now. But for this example, we don't have fiat money or stablecoins available. No, we have to use our assets, which are already sitting on our wallets, our Ethereums, our wrapped Bitcoins, our large caps assets, which we want to hold for price appreciation. And the protocol we are using for this example right now, because it's the biggest and probably also the most safest with almost 70 billion US dollars in assets, is Aave. It's a native lending and borrowing platform on Ethereum, but you can also lend and borrow assets on many other layer 2s or many EVM compatible chains. If you want to do that, for example, on chains that are not available on Aave, you can just come over to DeFi Llama, look for top protocols, and go for the lending category. And if you want to do it, for example, on Solana, you can use Camino Lend, which is the biggest over there. And if you go down the list, you can see all the big protocols on those networks. We again want to use Aave for this example. And the first thing you want to do once you come over to the dApp of Aave, you just want to connect your wallet. In my case, I'm using the Rabi wallet, and once you're connected, it will show every asset you have on the network. Then you can choose the network, or as they call it, the market. In our case, we want to use Polygon. I don't want to use Ethereum mainnet because the fees are way higher as on all the other layer 2s. So in this case, I'm going with Polygon because most people should have at least heard about Polygon or used it once. And I have some assets on here. I have some Matic and also some wrapped Matic just sitting on my wallet. And I want to use this Matic now as collateral to supply them on the platform that I can borrow assets against it. In our example, we want to, of course, borrow some stablecoins, which are currently, of course, in high demand because this strategy is used by many experienced people in this space. And that's why we have to pay currently APYs ranging from 10 to 25%, depends on which chain you are currently using. From my experience, Polygon is most of the time also one of the cheapest over here. In our case, the native USDC has the lowest APY. That's why in our case, we want to borrow some USDC to purchase assets with it later on. So the first step before you supply any assets, you should always go to the details of the assets you want to supply. In this case, I want to supply some wrapped Matic here. That's why I'm gonna go to details, and I want to check out the so-called loan to value, which is sitting currently at 68%, which means if I would now lend around 1,000 US dollars on Aave, I can borrow assets against it up to 68%. So in our example, 680 US dollars. That's the maximum Aave currently allows for this asset. My Matic are currently valued at 1,450 US dollars, which means if I supply them now and multiply that by 68%, I am able to borrow assets, in our case USDC, let's say roughly 1,000 US dollars. And of course, you have to pay attention to those loan to value ratios, because in the end, if our Matic, so the asset we supply, if you supply Ethereum or wrapped Bitcoin or Arbitrum token or whatever you supply, if this asset goes down by another 20, 30, 50% because we have another correction, you have the risk to get liquidated. So you should always pay attention to this loan to value ratio and also to your health factor, which I wanted to show you right now. So now we want to first supply the wrapped Matic we have here on this wallet. So I want to supply them all. I first have to approve them here because it's not the native asset on the chain. And now as the transaction is completed, I can supply them. I have to confirm the second transaction here on my wallet, also do it on the ledger. Always use a hardware device for such things. And once this transaction also goes through, it says all done. I can say, okay, I want to close this. And you can see the supplied asset here on the page, which means I now landed 1.9k Matic here on Aave and am now able to borrow assets against it. And in our example, again, we want to borrow some USDC. So you just come to USDC. We have an availability of roughly 980 max, which we can now lend out. As I already mentioned, you never want to do max because the asset we supplied in our case is volatile. So we have to care about our risk. And I think our risk here in this case is that Matic could drop another maybe 30 to 40%. That's why I would only go with around 50 to 60% of this value, which is displayed over here at the availability. In our case, I would say maximum of 600 right now, which gives us a health factor of 1.77. And you can see I would be liquidated. So all my assets would be gone. So all my Matic, if we reach a health factor of below 1.0. This of course could happen if our Matic token now drops by another, for example, 50%. So don't let this happen in the worst case because we see a black swan event in the market or such kind of thing. You have to monitor your position and maybe supply some more assets so don't get liquidated until the market turns around. So now I would click borrow USDC. I had to confirm the transaction in my wallet again. I don't want to do this right now because this is just an example. So I would now cancel that. And your position would now show up here as well. And you now would have those 600 USDC on your wallet. And now you could buy assets on the market, which are currently on a dip. So you would just come over, for example, to Uniswap and trade your assets over here. Or you can also send those USDC to a centralized exchange, buy your mid caps, low caps, whatever you want to buy over there. And once those assets appreciate in value, let's say 20, 30, maybe 50%, you can just convert this asset back into USDC, pay your loan back on Aave. So you just come back to this page. Then there would be a so-called repay button, as it also says here for withdraw. Then you just repay your loan here on Aave and write the rest of your position, which appreciated in value because now the market is green again. And that's a simple process how you can get your hands on some liquidity if you ran out of stablecoins or fiat money to buy the current dip. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below this video. And if you don't want to miss future videos on my channel, which I usually do on a daily basis on topics like airdrop farming, passive income and node projects, then you might want to subscribe to this channel. If you like today's one, hit the like button as well. That's it. Thanks for watching and see you in my next one.